Hey everybody, I am back this time with another practice round here at Northside Church. I am here to practice for an upcoming tournament that I may or may not play. Regardless, I wanted to do a practice round to show others on the channel that might be interested in playing the Fairway to Heaven fall tournament. And this is going to be my attempt to show you some of the things you might try, some of the things you might not be aware of if you haven't played this tournament before or you haven't played these courses in a tournament. So with that said, I'm here on hole 1. In this case, it's a shortened layout. So normally hole 1 is a par 4 at nearly 700 feet, and you have to play on the grass, and your disc must not go into the creek. The creek and beyond is OB, and the entire sidewalk and the gravel trail beyond the sidewalk is OB as well. Okay, I'm at the tee pad of hole 1, and this is, I believe, where most of the tournaments tend to have their 1S hole start. So the edge is here, the tee pad is here effectively, and all this gravel is out of bounds, and your goal is to get it on that side. They'll typically have a line marking the out of bounds area, which this gravel, a line here and on the inside is out of bounds. So your goal is to throw it there, have it carry out into bounds and fade there unless you have the distance to go all the way to the basket. Okay, that's probably a good 60 feet away. And just so you know, I am not trying to get to the basket. I don't like this hole, so I'd try to get a par on it. Here's my Mamba. That would have been better for my Mystere. That's going to skip really close to the basket. I'm going to duplicate that now with my Mystere. Okay, that looks to be close to the basket. Okay, so I got really close with my Mamba. I'm a good 25 out, but I got next to it with the Mystere. That's basically a tap in. Ooh. So with that said, an easy 4 on this hole, which is what I'd love to get if I were playing this as a par 4. But as a par 3, I'll take a birdie or a par any day. Hole 2 is a pretty straightforward throw. You basically have to, if you're right-handed, try not to have it hyzer out over the OB gravel road. There will be a line indicating where that OB starts, and on the right you see a bunch of trees that you don't want to throw into because it's hard to throw out of there towards the basket. It's not the most challenging woods to throw out of, but it's not easy. The secret to success here is throwing relatively low and not letting it hyzer out. There is a bit of a headwind right now, so that's going to make it a little unpredictable for these shots you're about to see, but on a given day, you generally want to throw low and flat and maybe let it, if it's an unstable enough disc, let it go that way. Or if you're sidearm thrower, just yeet one out towards the gate and let it fade. Put a little too much hyzer on that. I was trying to throw flat and let it curve over, but I think I was too aggressive with that. So I'm going to try to control it a little bit more with this. Nope, I did the same thing. But I got a lucky kick to the fairway. Last but not least, I'm going to try the FD. I'm going to try to avoid throwing flat. There we go. That's a lot closer to what I wanted. Perfect. So with this shot, I got lucky enough to get in the fairway. So what you want to do, in my case, is throw something mildly overstable that way and let it fade towards the basket. Okay, I got a putt. Okay, in this case, we've got 2 options. I can try to putt it from here, or I can try to putt it from here. Given the direction of the wind, I'm really just trying to get a par. I'm going to try a soft bid that way. Okay, perfect. I'm next to the basket. From here, I don't have an easy approach towards the basket, although I could try to putt from here. Actually, I've got a little bit of a window, so Oh, almost. Okay, and with this, I have a good chance for par. Here at hole 3, it's a fairly open fairway. It does have a few trees up towards the beginning of the tee pad, but down the fairway on the left you have OB to worry about, and on the right you're basically home free all the way up to the street. So you have a lot of room to work with, provided you don't hit any trees. Okay, so for this layout, they basically play every hole that's normal part of the main layout here at Northside Church, except that they shorten hole 1, they shorten hole 18, and they start from the short hole 16 tee pad. Everything else is played as you might expect, which is good for me because most of these holes are what I'm most familiar with that's going to be in this layout. That was my TL. Now here's my steer. Now let's try a putt with the AVR 3. With this AVR X3, I'm about 15 feet from the basket. Hole 4, you have a pretty open fairway, but it does have some trees in the middle. Generally, if you can avoid hitting the trees, you can put yourself in a good spot. There is OB on each side of the fairway. The steer. So the good news is we're about 110 feet out from the basket, so now I'm going to try a straight AVR throw. Right under the basket. So this steer is in a good spot, so I'm going to try my AVR X3 to get it close to the basket. Perfect. So I wish I could play like this in the tournament. Hole 5 is not challenging in terms of distance, but it is challenging in terms of OB. You basically start out just shy of OB, and you can throw to the left of it fairly generously and remain in bounds. But if you try to throw OB on the straight path towards the basket, you risk hitting a tree and remaining OB, in which case you basically have to re-tee unless there's a designated drop zone at this tournament. So there's a path that goes around that will have a line that will indicate where the OB is. You have to pay attention to that before you throw. I'm going to start with my mid-range. That's out there, and that's all I wanted. I'm going to throw with my it here. You want to pay attention to where the OB lines are. The path is a little hard to see, but thankfully they will mark it at the tournament. I'm in bounds, but I have a long putt. So I'm safely in bounds with this Mako 3 throw. I'm a good 55 feet out, so really all I want is a safe bid to the basket. Okay, and with this throw, I'm a good 25 out. So this is a chance to get a birdie, but whether or not I can get it is something else entirely. Okay, looks like putting league has paid off. Thanks, everyone. Hole 6 is a very short hole. However, it has a pond that you have to throw over. The end of the pond from the end of the tee pad is approximately 130 feet. So at a minimum, just to get over the pond, you want to take a putter and throw 130 feet or more to get past it. The conservative play here is to get a putter and throw it. Try to aim for about 140 or 150 feet. I made the Mandos, I'm over the pond, I'm safe. The more aggressive play is taking a fairway driver or a mid-range and throwing a little harder. Or if you're particularly skilled enough, a putter and kind of run it real good. Oh yeah, I got a putt. All right, so with my distance, I can actually putt it fairly close to the basket, but I need to practice short approaches. Perfect, that's within 10 feet. Okay, so this skipped a little farther than I expected. That's still definitely within the range of acceptable distance for me. I'm safe, and I'm 40 feet from the basket, which makes for an easy par. Nice. Okay, with this said, this wraps up the front 6 of Northside Church. From here, we're going to head into the middle 6, which can be a little bit more challenging because it's in the woods. Hole 7 is a decently long hole, given that it's in the woods. You don't have too much to worry about in the middle of the fairway, with the exception of one significant tree that's in the middle, about 80 feet in front of the tee pad. But once you get past that, you generally have a good chance of making par, provided that you're in the fairway. Generally speaking, there's 2 options. Basically, this tree in front of us, about 80 feet, is what decides whether or not you're going to take the right gap or the left gap. If you're going to go with a straight disc through the left gap, that's going to be a shorter throw. But if you're going to go around on the right gap, you will need an overstable disc, put a little more power on it, and it can be a little more trickier down closer to the basket due to the clump of trees over there. So I'm going to go ahead and try a straight shot. My leopard went a little too straight, but it's actually fairly close to the basket. Now I'm going to try my T-bird, which is my most overstable fairway driver. I'm going to go on this right gap here. It curves around a good bit. I just hit that tree, so that's the risk of taking that route. The good news is, with this T-bird, I'm about 60 feet away from the basket, so that allows me to do, for at least my skill level, I can get a putt to land, 10 feet shy of the basket and have it coast in, or I can try to throw. So I'm going to try a little bit of a throw to work on my throwing skills. That ended up probably where a putt would have ended up for me, but with significantly less effort. For the record, I've never been a fan of jump putting or step putting to putting really hard to the max distance you can get with it. If you can get there with the throw with a lot less effort, I feel that generally speaking, throws are more accurate at short range if you practice it enough, and you don't have to expend a ton of energy jump putting. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to putt this one in. I missed it. But really, this is a novice disc golf channel, so novice to recreational level disc golf channel. I'd say rec level, though open to others. So I don't expect to get those on the regular, but I do tend to be a little bit of a better putter than a thrower. Generally speaking, this water retention pond up there towards the basket is not considered OB, except for some tournaments where they'll usually outline a location where there's OB. Here, I've seen most recently in novice level tournaments at my level, there's no OB out there, with the exception of around this little spot right here where for safe footing they mark a little bit of that out of bounds. But generally speaking, as long as you're in the fairway, you're in great shape on this hole. Okay, for this hole, given that it's fairly open and for this tournament, I don't believe there's going to be out of bounds. I'm going to try a fairway driver, try to get it down towards the middle, just get as far as I reasonably can. This driver is what will allow me to reach the inside of the retention pond. I don't plan on making it to the basket given the amount of power needed for me to get it that far. That was the safe hyzer play. Let's try the TL. That was a straighter play, but with a more overstable disc. Okay, so here is the retention pond, and this is the area that I said would be marked OB, even in the most novice-friendly tournaments, because they don't want people to potentially wreck their ankles in that area. With that said, my FD and TL are out there in the middle of the retention pond, which is basically where I wanted. And as you can see, there's some water here. Generally speaking, they allow you to play this as casual. So if the water was a little high and your disc was in there, you would take casual relief within the line of play from the basket. I'll try my Champion AVR. All right, should have skidded next to the basket. Okay, with this FD, it's pretty much the same story. Just want to get it up there. Again, that should be close to the basket. All right, so these are two good throws. Hopefully I can nail a putt, maybe two. I actually had a full-on yip in the middle of that. Fortunately, the yip happened too late to prevent the disc from going in. All right. Hole 9 is one of the harder holes to get because you have to traverse a pond, which isn't very long, but it can be a little nerve-wracking, especially if you hit one of the trees on the other side and it potentially rolls out. But generally speaking, if you get it in the middle and you miss the first few trees, it's safe over there and you have a good look at the par. Generally speaking, at my skill level, I want something slightly understable as a fairway driver, and I essentially try to hyzer flip it a little bit, but my focus is going straight. Now ideally I hit the right gap and it fades a little bit, but if I hit the left gap, that's okay, as long as it doesn't fade too early. But generally speaking, if you're over there, that's a good sign. I anhyzered that so it flopped a little bit towards the ground, but I'm safely over there. Let's try the it. Let me fix my release angle. There we go, that's basically what I want. Didn't hit a tree and it's safely over there. Okay, I've arrived here at my first lie. From here to the basket is approximately 170 feet, so I'm just outside that, maybe 173. My goal here is literally just to get close enough to the basket to maybe get a putt in. I'm scrambling at this point. I'm only like 40, 50 feet from the edge of that pond. And so all I want to do is get it straight. I was a little afraid of this. I got lucky, folks. Okay, with the second lie, even though I'm a little bit closer, I'm a little bit obstructed. Now I could try a flat throw to there, but in my experience, that's a wider gap. And if you can get something overstable and fade it that way, you have a better chance of making it to the basket without it fading, or not getting the angle right and hitting a tree. So we'll see how this works. All right, that's under the basket. Okay, so this is 25 feet from the basket. I'll be honest, if I miss this, I don't feel bad because getting a bogey, considering what I came from, is expected. Like, it's what I expect of myself, but I am gonna run this. My DX AVR, stance, grip, line, missed the basket. All right, my friends, you know what that means. Bogey for that one, and if I don't mess this one up, a par for this one. All right. Whew, if I missed that, I would have held it against myself for not focusing. Hole 10 is the definition of a tunnel shot. This is a tightly wooded corridor that's not very long, but it's very narrow, and you have to try to not hit first available. All right, this represents my first real challenge. This gap is really rough for me, and I'm not good at hitting lines that precise. What I'm going to try to do is not hit one of the first available trees and at least try to make it halfway towards there. I'm going to go with my Mako 3, and I'm going to do a light drive and hopefully do this correctly. That didn't work out. Let's try a fairway driver. This is the preferred play for me because I don't have to juice it to get a lot of distance. This is my Star Leopard. It's pretty understable, but as long as I hit the line right, I should be good with this. All right, that got me more than half the fairway, about maybe 66% of the way there. Quite frankly, that's all I need. Since I'm here, might as well play the Mako 3 lie just so you guys can see what it's like. I've got some roots right here, so I will use my mini to get past the roots so I can step here instead of on the roots. And all I'm trying to do is get close enough to the basket. So I'm going to try to throw flat with slight ante, straight, and let it curve around. So I need to line my shoulders the way I want to. 2 inside. Okay, that's why you don't do that, kids. All right, so here I'm like 55 feet away, but there's a tree right in front of it. My goal as a novice isn't to make the bucket, but what my goal is to try to get it in close enough to where I have, if not a tap in, a reasonably sensible putt, maybe 15 feet or less. So all I have to do is throw this at a angle like this and let the AVR nestle somewhere closely to the basket. That's really all I wanted, and that's basically under the basket. A tap in 3 I will take every day of the week on this course. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this result. Hole 11 is, I believe, one of the most challenging holes on this course. It's a little bit longer than the previous hole, but just as challenging off the tee. I've seen a lot of people hit first available here, and a lot of those people were myself. So once you get past the first available trees, you can generally have a decent chance at making it halfway down the fairway or further. Okay, this is essentially my nemesis hole. It's the nemesis hole of many people because of the trees really close here. It's a tight gap. It's even more challenging than the last hole. So all I want to do is get something through the gap. Honestly, I got lucky there. And actually, let me try this mid-range here before I go. I was just gonna run out there and go to it because I don't typically get that far. So I'm gonna try this again with my Mako 3, just see if I can duplicate the effort. This is the safer play. I'm not expecting to go more than halfway down the fairway, but in theory, if it hits a tree, it doesn't go as far. That's actually a decent spot. We're gonna run with these 2 lies. All right, I've actually been here a few times before, particularly in the last tournament that I played here. I was kind of in this area, and both times I accidentally shanked a putter that way. So my goal is to make sure I get the right angle, hyzer angle, and put the foot behind the lie, pedal to the basket. And all I want to do is have this AVR 3 get close to the basket. All right, so this is farther than I normally get when I'm playing this hole because quite often I'm hitting first available. But I'm 75 feet out, I don't know, something like that. So all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my foot behind the lie, but put it on this side of the lie so I have more room. And then I'm gonna step like this. There, I've got more of a gap. If I were like this, I would have less of a gap, or if I was like that. So I'm gonna keep my foot behind the disc. Now I've created a larger gap, and since I'm a backhand guy, oh yeah, that's a putt. Okay, this is probably about 20 feet from that basket, so I gotta focus up on this one. Of course. That said, I'm gonna try to focus up on this one. Can't get them all, guys. Hole 12 is what I like to call a decision hole. You can either lay up on the other side of the creek, or you can try to push through the tunnel on the other side. Okay, just to be candid here, my goal generally is just to make it to the mouth of that gap, not to push through. That said, I'm going to try with this leopard to get in just a little bit, so I'm going to focus up. Normally I do a standstill, but since I'm working on my cross step, this is part of a practice session too. Hopefully you can see this. That got me just inside the mouth at a point where I'm happy with. I'm going to try this and aim a little bit more that way, since it'll fade a tiny bit more than the leopard. Holy crap, that is perfect. Now that I got those better than expected drives, I'm going to go for what I consider to be the tournament play, my tournament play as a recreational or novice disc golfer. Edge of the mouth, that's basically within the acceptable range of me getting that. Try it one more time. This is the MD3, it's a little bit more stable, so I need to compensate. I compensated too much. That said, I've got a really good shot for a bogey from there, or at least a decent chance at a 3 if I do something intelligent. Okay, let's start from bad to worse. This MD3 is over here. Generally speaking, I would pipe a putter through one of these gaps and just put it out here into the fairway. Whether or not I get it close enough to the basket or can from that angle, I don't really know. I usually make that decision game time. I don't plan these things in advance. That said, let's go from bad to good. Here's the Mako 3. This right here is the mouth of this section here, and this is where I want to end up in terms of a tournament play. If I can end up anywhere in this area, I have a clean look at throwing a putter towards the basket. Now let's go take a look at the leopard. This was the very first throw. This is slightly better than what I would expect, but the leopard does allow me to get a little more distance with the same effort as a mid-range. And my best throw, I think my second best throw ever here, is this maybe 65 feet from the basket. All right, so I'm a little more than 100 feet away. I'm going to try to get within, hopefully within 20 feet of the basket. In front of the basket. Okay, I'm not too far. Hopefully I can fluff a putter towards the basket. All right, 2 close putts in a row. Hopefully I can make those. Okay, I need to focus up with this putt, unlike the last time. Then this is actually close enough. Hole 13 is one of my favorite holes to throw off of. My least favorite hole to try to drain a putt with the elevated basket. Okay, we're here at the back 6 of the traditional main layout, and it's sunny out here, so I had to put on my bucket hat. So this is what Sean and I consider to be the unload your cart hole, because we generally play the first 12 if we do play like a casual round, and then we're done at 12. But we come over here and we empty out a bunch of discs, so that's what I'm going to do. I've grabbed 6 discs. I'm going to just throw them. That's my leopard. That's really good distance with that. I pushed that too far. All right, those are some good distances. All right, I got lucky with this It could have easily kicked into the woods here, but thankfully it ended up there. And then I'm a good 100 feet to the basket. I got even closer with the TL. I'm probably just under 100, maybe 95, 90 feet. All right, this Mamba is about 80 feet out. The Mystere closer to 60 feet out. And what I consider to be a very acceptable throw with my Leopard, about 55 out. So I'm inside the OB line by about 1.5 meters, 5 feet maybe. So at this point, all I want is a putter kind of close to that basket there, like that. This Mystere really would be a putt for me, just to get it close. That's a tap in. Pretty much the same here, really a toss with like the AVR X3. Again, another tap in. I try to get it close to the base so I can just drop it in. Hole 14 is a long one. It is a par 4, thankfully, but you have to have 2 good throws in order to secure a par with an easy upshot. For someone at my skill level, I'm actually quite fine with a bogey on this hole, but I have actually parred it a couple times. And the trick with this hole on tournaments is that they typically have an OB line over here, whereas when you play casually, there's no OB listed anywhere here. You know, so most people just play it out there if they absolutely need to. But you have to pay attention to the OB line and throw it that way, let a hyzer and skip that way, hopefully. Don't throw something too overstable unless you're going to flex a little bit. There's an advantage to throwing overstable. You risk not going in there, but I like throwing something neutral, throwing it straight and let it skip a little bit, and just go with the slide hyzer. That is actually a very perfect drive for what I'm considering. Now let's try the TL and see how close I can come to duplicating it. Less power, but a better height and line. That's probably very close to the FD though. Now, if I want to get a little aggressive in terms of my play, what I'll use is a distance driver and throw it a little harder. This is my G-Star Mystere. I'm going to tug on it just a little bit more. I think that might be a little better. Now my Wraith, same deal, even more aggression. Oh yeah, love it. So I'm extremely happy with this. The driver that's the furthest back is this TL, followed by this FD, and I'll get some distances momentarily, but these are very acceptable for me. And then I've got the distance drivers, which of course went a little farther, so generally speaking I would throw these in the tournament with the Wraith and the Mystere. This being the closest one, but maybe not the best angle. I couldn't get the most accurate reading, but this FD was something like 340 from the pin, and this Wraith was closer to 300 is what it told me, but I couldn't nail down the exact distance because the basket is slightly obstructed from this Wraith, and my shaking couldn't guarantee a good distance. But with that said, most of you people watching this video, they're going to play this tournament, throw farther than me, so I'm going to throw from the farthest one here. All right, since I'm far enough out, I'm going to just use my Mamba. All right, now I'm going to try my G-Star Mystere, aim that away. Okay, so I took my Mamba and my Mystere. I tried throwing them as hard as I could. And because I'm not coordinated yet with the cross step or walk up, I wasn't sure if I even got within a sheet of paper of the disc, so I don't know how close I was, but I was so focused on that, I wasn't focused on my throw. That said, I'm 150 feet from the basket. It's completely blocked by a tree, so I'm gonna throw my Aviator X, my Aviator 3, and just see if I can get close. I'm okay with the 4 on this hole. Okay, that looks to be under the basket, but I can't really tell because it's obscured. Let me throw one more. Let me throw the Aviator X3 because I want to see how this one would work. Oh, I yanked it. I was trying to go too hard. Oh well. Okay, so it is not reasonable to expect I would hit a 3 on this in the tournament itself, especially since I just took the best of 2 throws or whatever I threw, or I guess 4 throws if you count the 2 fairway drivers off the tee. But yeah, I played for a par. Fortunately, in the last tournament, I did par this both times. I wish I could say that the same about hole 1. This tournament is playing the long hole 15 hole layout. So we're going to start with the tee pad in the back corner of this lot, and you have to get past this one tree really close to the tee pad. If you can get past that, you generally have a good shot at making par maybe. Okay, with this, you have 2 options: the inside route, that's the left side, or the outside route, which is the right side. Generally, I recommend more overstable discs if you're a righty backhand like myself, but this is typically straighter towards the basket. And really, all I want to do is get out of the gap. Now I'm going to level up with my it and try to go a little farther. All right, now I'm going to show you the beefy line with the distance driver. And let me go one more beefy one with the Wraith. There we go. All right, there's the tee pad, and here's where my Leopard landed. Not a good look for my first drive. Fortunately, my it, I went a little bit farther, and this is a good 200 feet from the basket. So using the rightmost route, I've got my Wraith here a good 180 feet away, and even closer is the Mystere. This one was the one I felt best about, and this is the line I would try to replicate with a sufficiently overstable distance driver for my arm. Okay, given the distance, I'm going to try to throw my Aviator 3. All right, that's close to the basket. I'm not going to do another throw. Okay, for some reason, the basket's missing. Now, this is being recorded a few days before the actual tournament, but in post-production, this is being released a day or 2 before. But yeah, the basket's missing. Object golf for the win. There is no sign for hole 16 short tee pad location, but this is a pretty nice little hole that you have to avoid the Mando off on the left over there. If you play to the right of that and don't miss it, you generally have a good chance of making par, so long as you don't end up in the brush there on the right. Unfortunately, that's the downside of recording a practice round a few days before a tournament. You never know when the basket is going to be moved around for maybe a midweek tournament or for some other purpose. But for all intents and purposes, what I'm showing you in this practice round is the layout, my understanding from the disc golf course review page. That's what I'm going to continue to base my throws on. Let me see if I can use my Mamba. This is a pretty hefty distance, and I've got left to right, crosswind, slash headwind. Got over on that one. Now I'm going to eat one with this Mystere. Man, I'm tired. If you see more edits, it's because, quite frankly, I'm exhausted. These practice rounds are fun, they're interesting, but they are time consuming and they're a little bit stressful. That's good. I'm not gonna throw anymore. Okay, so normally if I had a sidearm, I'd actually throw a disc here, but I don't think I've got one. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna improvise with my predominantly backhand throwing style, see if I can get this close to the basket. All right, but for those of you who want to see what my sidearm looks like, here we go. That was an accident. I accidentally did that good. So to be candid, this Mamba is better than I get most of the times that I'm throwing here, but I think it's because most of the time I'm throwing fairway drivers and I'm not, maybe I am getting better. Anyways, I'm 50 feet from the basket, slight left to right crosswind, so I'm not gonna make an aggressive play for the basket. I'm happy with the par. Still filming it from here. This is basically an easy enough, par for these throws. But I'll be honest, for this one right here, 15 feet and as tired as I am, I really need to focus up. The sign here at hole 17 looks a little deceptive. You're basically teeing off from here and throwing a backhand anhyzer towards the basket, or if you have a sufficiently skilled forehand or sidearm, you're throwing a pretty default stock hyzer to get out there. You don't want to throw it too high as there's a couple overhanging trees in the way. For those of you who've seen some of my older videos on this channel, I used to do a lot of best throw videos where I take 2 throws off the tee, 2 approach shots, 2 putts, etc. That's essentially what this is duplicating, except I'm trying to study up for the course that I'm playing rather than just trying to survive the course that I'm on. And I'm a little bit better than I was back then. That said, got a anhyzer something that way a little bit. Hopefully I'm dialed in after a million throws today. I threw that completely flat. Let me see if I can adjust. That's very close to the basket. Now let me try a driver, a Mamba. Try to throw intuitively. I've been focusing on mechanical throws recently and I'm kind of exhausted. Mentally exhausted. Nice and low, slide anhyzer. That's also towards the basket. I was gonna throw my Mystere, but I'm done. This is about as far as I expect to get. I'm 60 feet shy of the basket. So this is a good test for what I'd normally do here. My tournament layup, the crosswind would be to throw it close enough to the basket to hopefully make it. Okay, that should be a tap in. Now with this lie, I'm 20 plus feet from the basket and I'm really tempted to do a soft bid, but my tournament play, just to be honest, is most likely just a layup right there. So that's my tournament play. I'm gonna show you my, hey, I'm in a practice round play for the benefit of the camera, but just so you know, if I'm in a tournament and I get this close, even though I try to play with an assertive mindset, my tournament play is to lay up unless I'm just feeling it. Right now, I don't feel it. As with hole 1, hole 18 is played from a shorter position, about midway from this tee pad towards the basket where it is installed. However, if you're playing in MA1 or higher, you will commonly play from hole 18's default tee pad. This is very similar to hole 1. In the advanced divisions, you're going to play from the long tees, but from the shorter divisions that Sean and I would play, we would throw from the shorter tee location. All right, so this 18 short tee pad layout I was unaware of until I showed up on the day of the tournament and played. So the tee pad is generally in this area. The basket is, at least in the tournament that I played last, tucked around the corner. Right now the basket is closer in its normal position for the main layout, so I'm thinking that's what we're going to play. Regardless, be prepared for it to be tucked away and out of sight, but I believe 18S is starting here. What I did in the tournament both times, and I was safe both times, was I threw a fairway driver just shy of the OB where the sidewalk and street are. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here. The only downside is I've got a strong crosswind that's actually coming this direction. So I wouldn't necessarily throw my leopard, but I need to see what this does in the wind. Okay, I anhyzered it and didn't give it enough power because I didn't have the good connection on it. So now we're going to go with the it. All right, that's way out of bounds, so I'm going to have to exert more control when I attempt to shot. So this is actually the disc that I threw both of those times, so maybe it'll give me luck this time. The wind kicked up. Nice and low. That's basically what I want. Okay, according to the rangefinder, I'm 200 feet away from that. So what I'm going to try to do is use the mid-range and throw it lower, flatter. Ooh, I threw that really high. Let me try one more correction. Let me try to throw this lower. There we go. That's a lot closer to what I wanted. All right. All right, so this shark, I basically fluffed it by throwing it too high into a direct headwind. So really all I want to do at this point is get it close to the basket and take my bogey. That's just shy of 70 feet away. All right, that is a putt that I should be able to make. And with this is basically the same deal. Gonna try to get close to the basket. There, easy tap in, that's all I want on this hole. So with my putters here and this basket here, just so you know, the long position is technically over here. So if you don't see the basket when you get to hole 18, when you show up for the tournament, then what you want to do is prepare to throw to that location. Just remember, these practice rounds are not indicative of what I can do in a tournament because of the high error rate that I have. Whew, but hopefully this is indicative of maybe what you might be able to achieve, since I'm playing in the novice division and most of the players are in rec or higher. Hope you'll have a lot of fun. Hope all the people in novice have fun with me if I'm playing this, which seems very likely, but we'll play it by ear. Anyways, hope you enjoyed all this practice round goodness. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.